Hey, Tigray here with Tech with Tigray. I'm going to walk you through how to use smart objects in Photoshop. Smart objects are incredibly powerful because what they end up doing is they lock in the resolution of what your file is at the time that you create your smart object. So what you can do is you can then take a large file, mask it out, do whatever treatments you want to it, lock it as a smart object, and then you can drag that into other projects and it'll retain the original resolution so that if you shrink it, it'll maintain that original information of the large file size, which will of course increase your files. But if you ever want to then say, oh, I shrunk it too small, I want to expand it a little bit, it then expands and doesn't lose any of the quality because it's still sourcing that original resolution size. If that doesn't make any sense, don't worry, we're going to walk through it with you right now. So let's get started. Hopping over to the Chrome. Did I want Chrome? No, I don't want Chrome. So we're going to quit Chrome. Thanks, Chrome. We're going to hop over to the Firefox because I've already got on unsplash.com. Highly recommend it. Free Creative Commons images. We've got this cool teal cup that I wanted to grab, so I'm going to download free. Thank you very much, Sean Patrick Murphy. So this is going to take a sweet time to download. Oh no. Oh no. File not found. All right then. Let's go back to the cup pictures. Let's just do this. I'm gonna do Command-Shift-4. I'm just gonna take a picture of it because it's more annoying to deal with that. So we got that onto our desktop. So let's drag that, move that to our desktop. I'm just gonna close you. Don't know what's going on. I always like renaming my files, so we're just going to do teal cup. And then let's click and drag that into Photoshop to open it. Cool thing about Photoshop is it has hotkeys like all computer programs, and I really recommend that you use your hand on your keyboard. A lot of people I see are just like posting up with their hand doing whatever, and just one hand on the mouse going up to file, down, duh. Seriously, if you want to spend less time on the computer, learn hotkeys. It might be just a null change in any productivity because you'll just do more work because you'll be faster. That being said, hit F when you're in Photoshop, and if you tab through, you can kind of do this nice preview. The reason why I like doing F right here is now if I hold down the space bar, I get the hand tool. Now I can click and drag and move this doohickey all over the place, which is great because if I'm not, you can do it in this one too. But if I'm here, I can't, doesn't work. So F, we're all right here. You can also right click on the background. You can choose like the color of gray you want. However you want to do it. Whatever. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna isolate the cup, and then I'm going to then create a smart object with the cup, and then I'm going to also not make a smart object with the cup. I'm going to show you why it's important to use smart objects. Ideally, you're using linked objects, which is even better because then that object is a file that exists separately that you can then use in multiple projects, or you have it in your Creative Cloud, which I'll go over in another video. So I'm going to isolate this cup. I like using the pen tool. For brevity, let's just use the magnetic lasso tool. So I could have pressed L to go over that, but I want you to see that there's other ones underneath there if you click and hold. Since the background is such a different contrast between the blue, theoretically I shouldn't have a problem tracing around the edge of this cup. I could also use the wand tool, yes, I understand that. But sometimes the wand tool, especially because we have that shadow down below. Now when I get to let's zoom in. Oh, I forgot. Z. It's not going to let me zoom in right now because I don't have my mouse set up. But when I get to a corner, I usually click just to make sure that I know that it's going to actually grab what I want to be grabbing. Now this is going to be rough. Like I said, I would use a pen tool to isolate this just so I know I'm getting a crisp, clean mask. And then now we hold down the Option key because I want to minus out the handle space. And so once I've clicked minus, I don't have to keep holding it. I used to do that forever. I would just keep holding that thing until one day I realized I didn't have to. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. So again, I'm getting to my crotch. Now see where this shadow, the shadow is closer, that refraction of the light is closer to the background. That's where you may have an issue, but so far so good. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy that and I'm gonna paste it. So it's 1-to-1. We haven't changed any scale, so it's the same pixels that it was before. Now I come over here, I'm gonna Command J to duplicate this. So this is gonna be our not a smart object. I am a smart object. Okay, so then I right click, convert to smart object. You can now tell that's a smart object because it's got this cute little clipboard paper thing. I'm really curious what the iconography is going to be in the future for all of us. Got our two things. Let's hide these. And then what I want to do with the background is I'm going to source, pressing I, the top of that gradient, press X to swap my colors from foreground to background, and grab this gradient right here. And now I'm going to press G, or I could just go to a gradient right here. And it's going to be the foreground, background. So the first two are always going to be whatever your foreground and background are in gradient, which is really nice. So it's something to keep in mind, is that if you want to create a gradient fast, whatever two you choose, which is really hard to tell in this because the cream is the same cream almost. I can see a slight difference. But we say okay. And so now we've got our cream over that. But what we want to do is probably, I want to just throw a mask on this cream. So that's going to be there. And let's do Command Shift I to grab just the bottom half. And I'm going to do Command Delete to bring back our shadow. And what I want to do with that is I'm going to pull up even a little more just to make sure we get. It's all right. There's like a interesting sharp little line right there. So what I could do is I could paint back in. Let's get the hardness really low, bump up the size. I have no idea if this, okay, it will work, cool. And just come by that edge and just feather it out. That way I don't see that harsh line, which doesn't feel real. So now if I pull up one of our smart object, not a smart object files, should roughly be the same, right? Cool. Looks like it's kind of floating. Sweet. So we have a smart object here, right? And we have a not a smart object. Now, if I grab both of these and I Command T to transform it, and we're gonna shrink it. Let's grab not a smart object. Let's actually make it red and green. So not a smart object, I'm gonna move over. Our resolution, they should be identical, right? They should be exactly the same. And so far, I mean, I'm gonna see some slight, I could just be seeing things. But the resolution looks the exact same. You know, this was just a screenshot. This wasn't the original high-res file because I was having issues with their web server or whatever. So let's move these over to there. Now, since we've shrunk it, let's say we're like, oh, wait, that scale isn't correct. I want it to be larger. So let's Command T again, and let's boost it back up. I won't go beyond the 1-to-1 that we originally were. But now you can start seeing what's happening. We're losing fidelity. Look at how blurry and soft our not a smart object is, right? Versus this one. Look at the crispness we still have in this reflection and in this edge, even in the mask itself. You know, we have all this quality stuff. Now that's something to keep in mind too. If I were to have create a smart object of just the background of the original file and then put a raster mask on it, not a vector mask, which means using the pen tool to mask it. If I'd done this type of mask on this and we're shrinking and enlarging the image, you're going to find out that your mask is losing fidelity as you are forcing the computer to do its interpolation of what the next painted pixel should look like because you're scaling it. So it's really good to mask out at your original resolution, your smart object, so that it's all set. And then you can always just jump into the smart object. Like, here's another feature of why smart objects rock, is now I can double click the smart object. It'll tell you, like, after editing, you have to save it, otherwise the changes won't apply. But here is our object. Now, I had copied out and pasted, but if I had kept the original file and created a smart object from there and then done the mask inside there, I would be able to come in here and edit the mask, tweak it if I notice that, oh, I still missed a part, or I want to improve it, or I really definitely wanted to do path versus a raster mask. So that's a cool feature of it. And then you can just Command W to close out. But that's one of the biggest reasons why I love to use the smart object, is that you maintain the resolution as long as I don't then take, our I'm a smart object and blow it up beyond what we originally started with. We're still gonna now we're starting to kind of almost getting that same interpolation look that we're getting from the original small one, because we're beyond what it is. So now we're asking the computer to say, hey, you don't have this information. Can you make a guess of it using your interpolators and figure out what ideally would be the next proximate pixel so that I can cover that same amount of screen space? A lot of jargon. I don't know if it helps. Hopefully it does. Anywho, that's a quick down and dirty introduction into smart objects. Awesome part about smart objects is that, one, you can maintain resolution of the original size that you created the smart object in. B, they're separate files, so you can create a lot of density of layers in them and then save that whole group as one. The only challenge with that is that if you have blending modes that are supposed to pass through, blending modes are these things, they're supposed to pass through onto objects behind them, it won't carry across. It basically is viewing that new smart object as a flattened image that has no layers to it. So the only blending mode stuff that will happen will be on the layers themselves within that smart object. It won't apply to everything in the back. But that's a down and dirty little thing that you can do for the smart objects. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you very much. Subscribe below. I'll keep posting things about Photoshop, Illustrator, web design, graphic design, all the things that I use in my techie life as a visual and graphic designer and web designer. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.